They say if you hear footsteps behind you when no one's there, you shouldn't look back. Tonight, I'll tell you why. And trust me, you'll want to keep your lights on for this one. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you even when you were alone? Or heard a noise in your house late at night that you couldn't explain? This story takes those fears and makes them real. It's a tale of isolation, paranoia, and the darkness that waits when you least expect it. If you think you're ready, let's begin. It all started when Jake moved into his new apartment. He just landed a great job in the city and found a place that seemed perfect. Affordable rent, close to work, and just enough space for one person. But there was one thing about the place he couldn't ignore. A single note left behind by the previous tenant. It read, "If you hear footsteps, don't open the door. And whatever you do, never look into the mirror at night." Jake thought it was some kind of prank or leftover Halloween joke. He tossed the note in the trash and went on with unpacking. But as the days went on, little things started happening, things he couldn't explain. The first time Jake noticed something strange, it was subtle. He'd hear faint footsteps in the hallway at night. His building was old, so he assumed it was creaky floorboards or a neighbor coming home late. But then, the footsteps stopped outside his door and stayed there. When he looked through the peephole, no one was there, just darkness. The next night, it happened again. This time, the sound was louder, more deliberate, like someone pacing back and forth. Jake tried to laugh it off, muttering to himself that he was being paranoid. But when he turned around, he noticed something else. The mirror in his living room had fogged up, like someone had breathed on it. Things escalated quickly after that. Jake started waking up in the middle of the night, always at 3:13 a.m., to the sound of his closet door creaking open. He'd close it, lock it, even wedge a chair against it, but somehow it would still swing open on its own. One night, he decided to set up his phone to record while he slept. The footage showed him tossing and turning, and then, around 3 a.m., something chilling happened. The closet door opened just a crack, and a faint shadow stretched across the room. Jake froze when he noticed the shadow didn't match anything in the room. The breaking point came when Jake decided to confront whatever was happening. He armed himself with a flashlight and waited for the footsteps to return. As expected, they came, louder and more deliberate than ever. This time, they didn't stop at his door. They started coming from inside his apartment. Jake turned around, shining his flashlight at the mirror. And that's when he saw it. His reflection wasn't his anymore. It was a distorted version of himself, smiling back in a way no human ever could. The reflection mouthed words he couldn't hear, but Jake understood. "Don't turn around." But of course he did. He couldn't help it. And when he did, the last thing he saw was his own face, standing inches behind him, grinning with empty black eyes. Jake's apartment is still vacant. No one stays there for more than a few nights. Some say they hear footsteps in the hallways, and others claim to see faces in the mirrors that don't belong to them. The landlord says Jake disappeared without a trace, but the neighbors have their own theory. The apartment doesn't let you leave. It just keeps you forever. If you're ready for more, subscribe or check out the next story, but only if you're not afraid to sleep tonight.